if I didn't take Xponential class, I wouldn't have the connection I have with the kids this year. Seeing the small victories that go into the bigger ones, that was amazing. It's funny because whenever we think we're vulnerable, and you realize, no, that's not as vulnerable. Some people it's easier, you know. I'm thinking I was being vulnerable. I got called out on that one. I probably cried like a dozen times on this thing talking to these athletes.
Welcome to Headspace Live. We are here with my buddy John Park, who is the Grandmaster John Park, 9th Dan black belt in Taekwondo, who just came back from a 5th consecutive championship win for the UT team. So he's so excited, and I was so excited to hear him that I said, okay, you have to come on Headspace Live to talk about this stuff, and here we are. So let's do this. Fifth consecutive national championship for the UT team.
Yes.
Last time I talked to you about that, you had just come back and you would send me updates via text and pictures and stuff. And you literally had lost your voice. You just couldn't talk because you lost your voice because it was so exciting, right?
Too much cheering. Actually, if you can hear my voice, I'm still kind of raspy.
So you told me something interesting. So the championship was in Berkeley, correct?
Yes, UC Berkeley.
UC Berkeley, and this was the championship. How many teams were there?
I believe it was probably about almost 100 teams. I think universities were there. It's pretty big.
It's huge, right? And
yeah.
And you basically said something interesting to me that was remarkable. That apparently some teams had sort of grouped up and said, we're going to cheer against Texas. Am I missing something, or was that the accurate thing that happened?
No, that's actually true. Actually, all the universities from California, and it came out, I think, a text, and one of the coaches received it by accident in a multi-group, and they said, guys, we need to shut down Texas because they're too loud, and we need to cheer as California. Every Californian team, we need to shut Texas down. And
wow.
I'm gonna be honest with you, it was pretty. That first day, they were pretty loud. Texas literally had to cheer for Texas, and everybody else was cheering for every team that we fought against. So it wasn't just California. What happened actually was every single college that we fought, they all were cheering for the college team that was going against Texas. CU Boulder's head coach and assistant coach saying, congratulations, you're the champions, you guys beat us. And they were ahead in points. And Sunday, we didn't have that many black belts. We only had 5 black belts, but they came through, and we actually won by only 5 points. In fact, until our black belt fought, we were actually 6 points in second place. CU Boulder was first place, and they really came out with a big team. I think they had like 60 between coaches and athletes. They had almost 60 people, and they're really gunning for us because they lost last year. They were the host university, and they came in 4th. So they were really, they came out to prove something.
Of course, we've been friends for a while, and I love the backstory. You come from royalty, Taekwondo royalty. What does it mean to be a 9th Dan? First of all, about your accomplishment. What does it mean to be a 9th Dan black belt in Taekwondo? And then we'll talk about your dad for a little bit, because there's nuance there.
The Asian culture, 3 is the perfect number, and it's so funny. Just like in Christianity, you have the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. But in Asia, there's no 4th floor. So when you go to a hotel, it'll go 1, 2, 3, 5. There's no 4th floor.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like in America where there's no 13th floor. There's no 4th floor because it's synonymous with death. So in the Asian culture, 3 is a perfect number. That's why, like in Chinese culture, you have like the triads, the gangs. There's always something with the number 3. Mm-hmm. So in martial arts, we have 3 of 3 of 3 is 9. So there's 9 levels to black belt, and there's 9 levels in black belt. So that's how that. So if you meet somebody that says, "Oh, I'm a 10th degree or 11th or 12th degree," they don't know what they're talking about. They just made it up because they don't know Asian culture. Mm-hmm. So people like who've been doing it a long time, the minimum age requirements to be a 9th degree is 53, and they're like, "Okay, we're going to make 9th degree, but we're only going to save it for those who've done something incredible." For Taekwondo. And so you couldn't just say, oh, I'm going to go for my 9th degree test, because it didn't happen that way. They said, hey, we want you to go for 9th. and that's where they actually used to do it, and that's what happened to my father. But he's been ninth degree for, I don't know, over 30 years, something like that. So there's no higher rank.
So tell us about your father, an undefeated champion for over 200 international fights, I believe. Is that
Yes.
do I remember
Yes.
correctly?
Yes.
And so even in Korea, he is a massive legend, right?
Oh, yes. In Korea, he is because, long story short, originally they had 5 clans or families that grew to 9. And the family that we're a part of is called Jita Kwan, and that's one of the original families. And so they were like, if you made the Jita Kwan fighting team, you made the KTA or the national team, because the Jita Kwan was known as the fighters. So my father's day, I mean, you had a lot of different. When they first started, there were no weight classes back then. Everybody just kind of fought everybody. Then they slowly started making weight classes. But when Korea went to other countries, the other countries would lower themselves to do Taekwondo. So when he went to, say, Japan, they'd fight karate rules. When he went to Thailand, they fought kickboxing rules. When he went to China, they went to either Chinese boxing or, yeah.
Wow.
So the reason why he was, that's why his record is crazy, because he's over 200 international matches. So,
And some of them completely different rules.
oh, completely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But he also, when he moved to the US, I believe he also coached here in the US, correct? Who did he coach?
Yes. Well, what happened with my father was in 1966, he was only, what, 25 years old. He was the captain of the Korean national Taekwondo team that went to Osaka, Japan. And so he actually was fighting against their champion, their captain. And they kept saying, when he would score, they'd say no score. Koreans would say death blow. Japanese would say no. They're going back and forth. And my father hit him with this spinning heel kick. And they noticed my father's foot was bleeding. And the karate they wore, the kendo, the mask, the bamboo masks and chest protectors, that's what they wore. So he cut his foot on his face mask. And as they're arguing point, no point, the Japanese champion actually collapsed because he was standing up, knocked out. So he became a hero because he beat Japan in Japan. So when he came to Korea, they retired him into the Amateur Athletic Association for the sport of Taekwondo. So here's a 25-year-old, doesn't have a job anymore. And so at the time, the king of Thailand wrote to him saying, hey, I want you to bring Taekwondo to Thailand. You beat our champion, because he beat the kickboxing champion. So he moved to Thailand, 1966. And then I was born in 68, and I joined him when I was 6 months old. So we lived in Thailand. Then we came to America because I was during Vietnam. So he taught the royal family, and he taught U.S. forces hand to hand, fighting. And then we came to America, and so we were able to come to America. And he opened up different studios where the different GIs lived. And when they had their first official U.S. team, 2 of the 4 students were his students. And then in '79, it was a third world championship, and he head coached that. And then they made the AAU, which was at that time the national governing body for Taekwondo, and he was the first coaching committee chairman, and went on to coach a couple of world championships and the Olympics back in '92.
Wow, that's massive. I can walk to John's studio here, where and I actually drop in every once in a while. So when the kids come and study there, do they have any idea how big of a deal you guys are? You and your family?
Of course not. I mean, nobody knows. I mean, if you do martial arts, because everyone goes, "Oh, I know a guy's a black belt," and I'm like,
"Oh, nice.
Okay,
yeah. Okay."
I mean, because people think, "Oh, I'm a black belt," and I'm like, that's like graduating 8th grade. Now it's time for you to go to high school. Time to go get your associate's degree, your bachelor's,
your master's,
your
your
master's.
PhD.
Right. So black belt, the reason why it takes so long to get a black belt, and it's not that long, what, 3 to 5 years? It's just so things become second nature. But the real training comes when you're like at least 3rd degree, 4th degree black belt. That's when you really start getting good.
You joined Xponential, my coaching program for professionals, and I loved how you took how attentive you are to the things that we were talking about, right? And so tell me a few things, like off the top of your head. I have like a few maybe talking points because you mentioned things here and there. How did it? How did the work that we do together help you further your already remarkable career?
Well, I think it helped me become more well-rounded
Mhm.
because for so long, oh, here's my business life. Here's my coaching life. Here's my spiritual life. Here's my family life. And realizing it's all in the same. You need to be balanced in all of it. And it
Yeah,
helped me, especially on paper and talking about it with a nice peer group, that we're all the same. I mean, I have many friends that are fantastic in wealth, but their marriage is terrible. Or I have some friends that are great marriages, but their spiritual life or their finances are bad, or their time with God is, so it really, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. But this really taught me on how I need to pay attention to everything and come together, not
separate. Yeah, so integrate those things
separalize it.
together. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
you told me something interesting that really touched me because most professionals struggle with a sense of peace
Mm,
and versus stress, right? And business
yes.
is stressful. If you own a business, if you run a business, especially if you run multiple studios and things like that. You were telling me that something changed in you where your peace set in and a sense of confidence set in that changed the game for you. How was that?
Yeah, I think a lot of times when things are good, you don't have to think about it. But when, say, let's face it, we're in a recession, right? Things are going bad. But the piece of knowing my relationship with God is good. So my relationship with my wife is good. My relation with my kids are good. My faith is good. And then seeing it rise from, say, a 2 to 3 to a 4 to a 5, it just said that when people came in, instead of that desperation of, oh gosh, please join my studio. I need that. I need you to help me pay the rent. It was kind of like, okay, if people are going to come, people are going to come. People are not going to come. And I knew that, but really being at peace about that
Yeah.
and not having that desperation of, please join my school, but more like, okay, this is what I charge. You're welcome to come, but it's not like a begging. It's more
Yeah.
of like, I'm letting you
And I
join my
think and I think
facility.
some of the techniques that we teach and that we practice together, and that's the beautiful thing about what you mentioned, accountability, is sort of this win the day, quick win techniques. And how do you go from, hey, I'm behind, I'm overwhelmed, to I'm sharp, I'm creative, I'm focused. Did that how were those practices for you? Yeah. Did that have
Oh,
something to do with that piece you're talking about?
yes, seeing the small victories that go into the bigger ones, that
Hmm.
was amazing. Because a lot of times we have little victories and you're like, "Ah, it's little, doesn't matter." But it does. Actually, those
Yeah.
small victories become the big ones. And that's what helped me see things. It's like, "Oh, this thing happened, but I reacted this way. That was a victory." And the way think changed. Instead
Yeah.
of like Debbie Downer, it's like, "Okay, great, but this is what's gonna happen, and this could
Yeah.
happen." And it's almost like manifests because of
Yeah.
that positive thinking.
Yeah, things sort of started. I could see things going uphill for you, like not uphill, but in a positive, up and to the right. Let's
Right.
put it that way for you. And it's I say that we say that all the time in the cohorts. It's like, look, it's going to be hard. I promise you, it's going to be hard. You're going to face some resistance. So you can expect resistance and things to go badly, like random things sometimes, because
Yeah.
it's almost like when you want to go up, there's a force pushing you down. At
Yes.
the same time, expect unexpected, completely uh, almost miraculous things to just pop your way. And that's what happens with every single person. It's remarkable to me, and I have some theories around that. But I feel like I can see that happening with you as well.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing that was interesting to me early on, this is before even sort of the big fifth victory, is that you had some breakthroughs in the family connections.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Really just, being a more present, uh, with my wife on everything, and I thought I was, and I realized I really wasn't. And then with my children, it's like, wow, me having that, that, daddy-daughter time was really amazing.
Yeah.
And I see that we connected for a while. It was kind of like, it was almost like we're roommates instead of like really.
Hmm.
And also, she's trying to figure who she is now because she's a preteen. And, there's times where it's not cool to have daddy hug you or kiss you.
Yeah.
But it really just be more open to the little victories that made bigger ones. Where now I see my daughter, and it's like those little victories that I would
Yeah.
not pay attention to before, I'm paying attention to, and then helping the really big victories. And with my son's and I relationship is really great because he's really blossoming in his golf career, and he just he's a sophomore, and it's one thing making a varsity golf team in say New Jersey or
Yeah.
Connecticut, but Texas, it's no big. It's a big deal about
Is
making
it
varsity
okay?
here
Uh-huh.
because other states you're on varsity, play 9 holes. If you go to states or whatever, it's 18 holes. Here, if you're JV, you play 18 holes. Varsity, you play 36, and it's 18-18. But he actually played 36 holes in one day, and he
Oh my
actually got
gosh.
a low score of the team, which is amazing. And he got 2 awards on the golf team for highest grades, which he was never,
Yeah.
uh, you know, as he high school he's just doing well. He's getting straight A's and also Braveheart because he hurt his back and he didn't want to give up and he kept playing with a bad back. Unfortunately, the second 18 holes, to the point where the other coach called his coach because off his driver tee shot, he collapsed because he was in so much pain. And I was like, you can't, he's not going to listen to me because he doesn't want to disappoint his coach, but he got Braveheart for, or fighting heart spirit for not
Yeah.
wanting to give up on a team. But his and I relationships really blossomed because before he'd tell me things, I'm like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. But I really wasn't listening. I
Ah,
thought I was listening, but I
yeah.
wasn't, and really paying attention. So that's what really helped me.
I, I remember that, and I remember you when we get on these weekly calls with our cohort. You have these glimpses of breakthroughs, and then they sort of accumulated and became deeper. And the cool thing about the magic of this is that you when you started looking at life as an integrated thing, right? Everything spiritual, professional, parenting, marriage, the pieces fit together better, and you pay attention to them, and they also sort of they raise each other up. So I really think that these are not disconnected breakthroughs and progress, because how you started feeling about your business, about your team, is directly connected how you connected you feel with your wife and your kids and your boy and your girl. They're all in different places. um, One thing that was fascinating to me, and I was so proud of you about, when you sort of got in touch with um, some of the otherwise amazing and powerful influences of your family, your origin story. They had some shadow sides as well, right? Because
Oh
the
yeah,
son you're son of a fighter, very austere sort of presence, father presence, and the sort of that I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think there was an emotional disconnection there where you just didn't want to get in touch with your emotions,
yeah,
because
yeah.
you've been taught to
Right.
not being aware of your emotions. Talk about that a little bit.
I think it's Asian culture in general, but even more so because what I do for a living. Because the Asian culture, like they make little TikToks or whatever about you see like this American family that hugs, and the Asian family, it's like, what, you got an A minus? It gets it's
Yeah.
mad. So it's like that, but to the next level.
Yeah.
And the only emotion I was allowed to show was anger.
Hmm.
I mean, most people they grow up hugging in America, everyone hugs and kisses their parent. I was like, I never hugged my dad. That's weird. I never
Yeah.
told my parents I loved them or they loved me. It was just kind of like, I provided for you. That's my
Hmm.
love. And that's the way they showed it, right? But as a kid grew up in America that was born not in America, it's like, wow, my parents don't do any of this stuff. But again, culturally, it was like, no, that's sweetness. You can't show love. You can't show
Hmm.
that type of adoration and things like that. But also, I mean, what didn't help also is the culture. My parents, they had a terrible marriage, and it's like, it's tough because it's like, all right, I respect this guy because of what he's done as an athlete. I respect this guy what he did as a coach. I mean, he's done stuff. If you're in any sport, If you're a good athlete, that doesn't translate to being a good coach. A lot of great coaches doesn't translate to being a good athlete.
Interesting.
And
Uh-huh.
he was both. Unfortunately, when it came to parenting and marriage, he didn't know what he was doing. As an adult now, I mean, I can see, like, all right, he was there. He grew up during the Korean War. He saw his family tortured. He saw friends, his village burned down, many people killed. He saw his mother
Mm.
being tortured by a communist soldier breaking their hands.
Oh
So
my gosh.
you grow up like that, and it's not normal. And
No,
so,
no, it changes you. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I thought everyone got spanked as a child growing up. I didn't know it's because, yeah, that's not normal. And my wife told me that's not normal. A previous relationship, that's not normal. And I'm like, but whatever's normal to us, what we grow up with. So we just think everyone goes through that type of deal.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think everybody does, but you were able to transcend that, and that's, to me, that was really interesting to observe. And obviously, you've done tremendous amounts of work on yourself for decades before you joined the program, but during the program, I could see you sort of resisting the next level of self-awareness and vulnerability, because it's not, it feels foreign, right, to a degree.
Oh yeah.
And then you sort of embraced it. And I remember seeing you embrace, hey, let's be completely vulnerable, and you did it, and I'm proud of you.
It's funny because whenever we think we're vulnerable and you're like, no, that's not as vulnerable. Some people it's easier. I'm thinking I was being vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Until I asked you to do some assignments, and you were like, you know what, I wrote it down, but I didn't say it out loud because I could tell myself, I'm getting close to feeling feeling too much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got
Uh,
called out on that one.
that was funny. Yeah, that was hilarious. So how did that? I guess this is sort of, as we round this up. Um, you were telling me something fantastic. I just thought it was, that's really honestly the reason why I asked you to come on, is that you said, I was, during this fifth championship, I was so different the way I spoke to my kids that I was coaching, and to the whole team. Tell me about that, because I think that was sort of the biggest, to me, that was the most heartwarming part of doing this work together, because it's not just about changing you, not about changing just you and your family, but now it sort of spills over to this team that wins a national championship, and they experience you differently as a coach. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, me coaching like from the '90s to 2000s, like I was definitely not who I am now. And this trip was definitely different than last trip because I thought I was being the kind one. Oh, I'm the encouraging.
Yeah.
I'm the grandmaster. I'm the whatever.
Uh-huh.
But this one, it's funny because some of the coaches are like, "Wow, a lot of the players felt really comforted by you, regardless if they won or lost. Just you're there
Yes.
listening, and
Uh,
you're there just really being accessible, and
mhm.
but really understanding where they're going through, sharing a part of what you went through, and to help them break through to the other side. And it's funny. It's just like, wow, the stuff that you pick up, not realizing it, and then
Yeah.
you start
Yeah.
sharing it. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Oh my gosh, I probably cried like a dozen times on this thing talking to these athletes. I'm here talking, I'm the grandmaster, and then I'm like, then all of a sudden I started like bursting into tears, saying, you know, a lot of times I think Asians or men in general, I'm here, so you should know I care, but not say anything. I'm here. You should be happy with
Yeah.
that. And I said, hey guys, I just want to let you know that uh, I know you're giving up your time. And I said, a lot of the coaches are giving up their time also. I said, but for me, and then I just broke down. I go, I'm missing my son's prom again. I missed it last year. I
Oh,
miss it this
wow.
year.
Wow.
And he had a prom again, and then I just lost it. So after it was all over, like all the kids, I think they felt finally connected with me because I
Mm.
was never that vulnerable with them.
Wow.
I let them know that I cared, but I
Hmm.
think they but when I broke down to say how much I care about them and that's why I'm here,
And that's
and
what
they
you gave
saw
up
it.
for them to be there with
Yeah.
you, right? Wow.
Yeah. So I had so many kids afterwards, like, and I said to them, thank you for letting me coach you guys. Thank you for letting me be there.
Mm.
And there's 90 athletes. So, a lot of the coaches were spread thin. So we were coaching a lot of people each. And it was wonderful because even the kids I didn't coach that I really didn't know well, just like, thank you for just being here and caring for us. And unless I was that real with them and vulnerable, I don't think they would have felt as connected. So this year, I just felt really connected to every athlete and coaches that I've known for the past 5 years.
Mm, that's wonderful. And I think how remarkable is that, because you are already, the elite. You're the cream of the crop in the sport. So you already have that expertise, right? Your coaching abilities alone are invaluable, as a matter of fact. But then you show completely different levels of leadership just on the connection, relational, motivational side. And that makes a huge difference for the kids.
Yeah, if I didn't take that exponential class, I wouldn't have the connection I have with the kids this year. I mean,
Mm,
they're all just like, I had kids that came up to me that I've known for 4 years and finally felt comfortable or safe enough to come and talk to me and let me know how much that it mattered for me to be there, but actually share about themselves, which was great because I know, you know, some of these kids I've known from their freshman year, but I really didn't connect to them at this level.
yeah. Awesome. Well, brother, thank you for coming on. It's a joy to be your friend, to have you on the Exponential tribe as well. And what a gift and a privilege it is to be able to bring the 5th victory in a row for the UT team. Of course, all of us in Texas are fired up and excited and proud of you.
Thank you. They're going to light the tower for us on Tuesday night. If you guys want to come watch them light the tower for the team.
There you go. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Christian.
Thank you,
I mean,
brother. Thank you. Thank you.
so much. I've grown so much. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Leave us your comments, your notes, connect us, share this with other people who want to hear this. Thanks for being part of Headspace.